The story begins with a camel. A tall beast with long, beige fur, a sure-footed foot, indefatigable and sober, and with an infallible instinct to find water. The perfect companion to travel through hot deserts and icy mountains. At all times, men have gone in search of wealth, adventure or knowledge, and that is how long caravans have been formed, taking men, beasts and goods, as much as hope ever further, towards the east, towards the south, towards there. Thieves and looters follow them and you have to protect yourself. So, they stop in caravanserais, sometimes simple shelters of stone, where can rest men and animals. Sometimes real cities where one crosses those who return and where one can trade and renew all its stocks of goods. With profit, obviously. Not far from the caravanserais, there is a water point, often protected from evaporation and fortified. Water remains the most precious good. Among the travelers, there are merchants, of course, coming from Venice, from the ports of northern Europe or from the Baltic coasts, leaving from Istanbul and loaded with precious goods, jewels, fabrics, which they will sell on the road, soon replaced by other wonders exchanged at random meetings. They walk to Chinese silk, tea and spices from India, carpets from Central Asia, gold, salt, amber, ivory. And even the slaves are exchanged as easily. William de Rarbrouck was not a merchant, but a monk, emissary sent by King St. Louis to the mighty Mongol Emperor Mongku in 1254, to try to protect the Christians he held captive. With his faithful interpreter and scribe, Mohammad, he discovered a totally new and fascinating world, immense steppes, nomadic life under the yurt, wandering behind herds of camels or horses, food based on fermented mare's milk. Fortunately this rustic Flemish had a solid stomach. At the rhythm of the seasons, of rites and games of young men, he met shamans and curious oboes, or wish trees. And he learned to leave without leaving any other trace than the ephemeral and round footprint of the yurt on the tundra. He met the emperor at Karakorum, a benevolent and well-disposed emperor, but who considered himself to be of divine essence. So, for him kings and popes were only vassals who owe him allegiance. The misunderstanding will never be solved. De Rubruck died in 1295, leaving a rich and documented book on Mongolian society of the 13th century, which will be rediscovered by Francis Bacon, only in the 19th century. Marco Polo was born in Venice in 1254. He was a merchant, son and grandson of merchants. A tradition such as he left at 14 with his father and uncle, not only for a business trip, but also as ambassadors to the empire of Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan. This powerful and rich emperor had just completed the conquest of China, and he was very influential. Marco Polo will be more or less at his service, carrying out for him for 24 years missions in China, Iran, Russia and throughout the Indian Ocean, Korea, Cambodia, Vietnam. He will take the opportunity to get rich and lose most of his fortune in the way home. He will still bring back to Venice a beautiful pile of precious stones, and a book telling his adventures. The Book of Wonders. This book will have a resounding success, eclipsing that of Guillaume de Rubruck, although it was much more fantastic, romanticized, enameled of myths, legends, like that of the men with dog's head, mixed with reports and stories of journeys. Marco Polo will die in 1324. But on these roads, we do not find only adventurers. Here is the indefatigable pilgrim who is advancing. The Chinese Buddhist monk Xuanzang is walking from China, dragging a unique horse, towards the south to India, in the year 629. He went through Samarkand to study at the Buddhist University of Nalanda, the most famous in the Asian world of the time. For 14 years he studied in Sri Lanka, Nepal, India, before returning to China, 25 years later, in charge of 22 horses, drawing 700 manuscripts and precious Buddhist texts. He died 10 years later, surrounded by an aura of holiness and universal wisdom. On their roads, these travelers met scientists, mathematicians from the Indus or astronomers from Central Asia. Writers and poets too, read or sang their poems and verses. In each important caravan city, knowledge exchanged as much as goods, more slowly, reserved for another audience, but they nevertheless spread slowly and inexorably throughout the universe then known. Another unlikely fellow, originally from Persia, followed the road to Iraq and Arabia before settling in India. His name was Lil Shabbas Kalanda, which means Royal Red Hawk, and referred to his membership in the Muslim group of Sufis. He was a religious scholar, writing religious texts, and a mystical poet. He was also a musician, adept at ecstatic dance and sung rites, going as far as trance and exorcism. He had also a nonconformist, provocative and unconventional behavior, and a stripped-down lifestyle, almost miserable. Although he lived as a beggar, the shrine of Lal Shabbas Kalanda was built in 1356 and decorated with Sindhi-Kashi tiles, mirror work. And a gold-plated door was donated by the Shah of Iran, Reza Shah Pahlavi, in the 20th century. What travel faster, however, are the tales and legends. At the speed of light, princesses of the 1001 Nights appear. Rich sultans, more or less benevolent, marry beautiful talkative slaves. Genies more or less devoted, help poor heroes to conquer kingdoms. And pretty romantic princes roam in haunted forests, looking for firebirds, or bluebirds. While beautiful princesses attract beautiful sailors under the sea by sparkling bright goldfish. The whole enchanted world, colored, followed the slow pace of the caravaneers.